my last podcast was about to the offensive line, McDaniel, and throwing fast and tying into Brady. One guy said you can't put Brady and Tua in the same sentence. Well, Tua and Brady play football, so I guess you can. But I said open beginning. This is not about comparing the quarterbacks. It's about comparing philosophies. I try to get people to understand basic football knowledge. And I understand that if you go too long, people are busy. And I wanted it to be more succinct than it was. But as I opened it up, in order to cover everything and to really express all the findings, it got a little long. I think the average watch time was like 6 minutes. And there's no way you could pull those findings in. So I'm going to do a speed round, fast, not version of it, addendum, adding more information to prove, without a doubt, using Dan Marino, a Dolphins great quarterback, and some extra stats to tie into everything to show you fundamental 101 football stuff that you can't debate. It's not about Tua. When you have unwanted pressure, without fail, there's 3 things you do. You can't debate. This is reality. You throw screens if the pressure's coming in, the blitz is coming in, you throw screens to mitigate it. Remember Dolphins? They didn't throw screens, and as guys got injured, the screen rate went up, and we started throwing like tons of screen by the end of the season. That's a red flag on too much pressure. The second thing is you call play actions. I'll give you the data later, but play actions are designed to protect, to scramble the brains of the defense, and to give you more time. They think it's a run, it's a pass, you get yourself a little extra time. You also add bodies in. Now, Miami in 2022 had 43% play actions, and then you compare that to Brady in his Super Bowl season with a very potent offense, throwing offense, had half that. We dropped it in 23 to 29%, but that's still very, very high. And it was done to slow down the pass rush. And if you check my little stat, blockers per pass, we were up there in the league. I got one of the highest in the league. I'll get the number and I'll show you our rating and all that stuff. The last thing you do, this is not debatable. You throw faster. Guys are coming in too quick. You throw faster. That's where the West Coast offense came from. Get the ball out quick, mitigate the pass rush, let your playmakers make the plays. So when an OC is sitting there and going, I'm really concerned this week, whether because the defense is such a good pass rushing defense, or my offensive line's not good, or both, they decide to do 3 things. Throw quick to the edge, throw quick in general, run screens, run play action, and put more guys in to block. And that is what we did. And the more the season progressed, the more it became apparent that this is what they needed to do. And you saw volumes of why did we go to the edge so much? Get the ball out quick because we hold it too long. Quarterback's going to get pressure or killed. Now, I'm going to show you Dan Marino's career and show you how valuable the offensive line is. I still give people, you're putting too much on the offensive line. Guys, Dan Marino, Tua couldn't hold Dan Marino's jockstrap. One of the best quarterbacks, if not the best thrower of the football quarterback in the history of the game. But you'll see his career goes like this. Woo! And then he loses Dwight Stevens. Woo! And then when he gets Webb and Sims back and it goes back up, it's so clear. I'll get to that in a second. But I had a really good comment. There was lots of good comments. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. If I'm a little cheeky today, my dog got injured and couldn't go out in the middle of the night. He had an explosion, if you know what I mean, on the floor, so I haven't slept. But so mind me if I'm a little cheeky here. But this is like basic stuff, guys. We could debate whether Tua is the guy or not. We could debate whether he's clutch or he's too nervous. We could debate whether his arm. But you can't debate on why teams do things through their philosophy and schemes. It's just not debatable. But this great comment, guys, there's always so many great comments. This is a good one, though. And it showed if I could put this little information in the last one, it puts a little bow on the top. Cheeky NFC 8096. What percentage of pressures came from defenses feeling emboldened to blitz? If you blitzed Brady, he'd more often than not torch you. So you'd be more circumspect about when and how often you do it. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than two of this or the OLs that. Are there any comparable stats between the two for when defenses pass rush for or use disguise zones? Can't do use the disguise zones. That you'd have to go to the film specifically. But what I said to him, showed him this is, if you look at the blitz rate on Brady and you look at the blitz rate on Tua, you'll see that they did blitz Brady more at a certain point. Sometimes it was actually Tua a little bit more. But as the speed of throw increased, the blitzes decreased, and defenses realized they could not get there fast enough, so they would just drop 7. But they still were able to get the pressure with the 4. And so it was a way to mitigate this fast throw with a poor offensive line or poorish offensive line. So I said this, Brady 2020, he was blitzed 30%, 21, 30%. And in 2024, when he had the second fastest clean throw time, 80%, 2.103, they only blitzed him 24%. So they said, we're going to blitz him, we're going to blitz him, we're going to blitz him. We can't get there. Let's start not blitzing him and dropping. Tua, 2021, with the 45th best offensive line in football, he was blitzed 31% of the time, 22, 25%. Huge drop, guys, huge drop. And then in 23, this last season, 22.7, and still generated the pressure I showed you. We still ran the play action that we ran. All this favors the protection of Tampa and allows some more opportunities for Brady overall beyond 21 for Tua. Notice how when he went to the 2-1-3 clean time, the blitzes dropped just like Tua. It's the way to offset the quick throw when protection isn't hot, because you can stop the run, get pressure, and clog the lanes. So this is a clear indication that teams said, this is too quick. They're getting the ball off too quick. The speed of Waddle and Hill, the quick release of Tua, the schemes and motions. Okay, let's not blitz. Let's see if they can run on our 4. Let's see if they can protect with their 5 against our 4. And they couldn't. You saw, go back and watch the video, the pressure differences. Tua's was higher. Their play action was higher. Now you get into, can he read? This year is the year. And I'm going to show you in a positive podcast, could be, about leverage. These are fundamental concepts. I'm not a rocket scientist. What I'm telling you is basic football knowledge for anybody who's in the industry for real. And you have to hold, this is why I'm accurate. I hold on to fundamental, basic understandings. And when you get past that, then there's the debatable and there's all this conversation. But leverage is a powerful, powerful asset, and Greer has decided to go all in. And I'm going to show you some very interesting stuff. But now I want to show you Dan Marino. Dan Marino had just about or better the release of Tua. Better arm, bigger guy, better instincts, better quarterback. It's not to say Tua's garbage, but Dan Marino. So, but watch here. Look, this is Dan Marino's career. Purple with Dwight Stevenson, the leftovers from the early 80s offensive line. 1987, December 7th, Pearl Harbor. I never realized that. Dwight Stevenson, December 7th, was cheap shot on a fumble behind by Marty Lyons. His career ended. Knees were destroyed on December 7th. I didn't know much about football back then, guys. I wasn't really hip. Played, but I just didn't know. Only 2 guys I knew was Dwight Stevenson. I think it was A.J. Dewey, Dwight Stevenson, and Dan Marino. Maybe it was a couple others, like Nathan in there too. There was a few others, but Dwight Stevenson was like the magic along with Dan. Although A.J. Dewey in that mud bowl is pretty special. So he goes down. Look at his stats. Star, Pro Bowl or, first alternate. And look at the TDs, at the interception ratio. Now, the 87 was the strike, so he was a little bit off, but then Dwight Stevenson went down. There was a couple games without him. Look at 1988 with Dwight Stevenson. Lots of yards. Completion percentage goes down. TDs still pretty high. 23 picks. Quarterback rating drops 10 points. Then you go to 1989, 24 touchdowns. Quarterback rating drops a little bit more. 24 touchdowns, 22 picks, and 76 quarterback rating. That's the gully of offensive line talent. But then, 1990, they draft Webb and Sims, rookies, talented rookies. 12-4. You went 7-5, shortened season. 6-10, 8-8. Dan Marino Nadirs in his production. 1990, add Webb and Sims. 12-4. Man, could you imagine if Dwight Stevens was still there with Webb and Sims? Could you imagine that? Sorry, I haven't slept. I told you I was cheeky. 12-4. His quarterback completion percentage goes up. His touchdowns, a little bit, but look at the interceptions, halved. Quarterback rating goes up. And then the following year, when they're marinated, back to the star, back to the Pro Bowl. 25, 13, 85. They only got the 8-8, but there was other reasons for that. We understand the Bills were there. And then 92, you could see a rise again. But it is sandwiched between a low flat line in offensive line. OL makes the NFL world go round, even for the greatest Dan Marino. So it's not to put excuses on to it. It's a reality. It's a reality. Fundamentals. You throw quicker, you run screens, you add more bodies and play actions when you don't trust your protection. The protection isn't there. The blocking isn't there. Big and small, great and weak will struggle. Mahomes, Super Bowl I. Super Bowl II, no tackles, beat by Brady. Super Bowl III, better offensive line, and he wins. Offensive line sets the table for the skills. If this and the last podcast doesn't show you context about this offense, the value of offensive line, then there's not more I can really show you guys. We could debate onto his arm strength. We could debate whether his courage is enough to lead us to the top. We can debate whether he's good enough for us, whether we should give him the contract. But the rest of the stuff, offensive line is a sinkhole. It forces certain philosophies, and the O-line sets the table for everything. And you've got to add rabbit ears, not excuses, not a free pass, my dog ate my lunch, but rabbit ears of context on the play of any skills based on the quality of the offensive line. Now, if it's a really great offensive line, then you got to say, hey, well, this guy is being supported a lot by this offensive line. That production's inflated, but it's the converse. The best way to evaluate skills is when they're about average. Then you really get the best frame. It's not the best framework for the skills, but it's the best framework for evaluation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Be well. Go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with AceParade.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.